Hey, this is episode 286 of the Homeschool with Moxie podcast. My name is Abby Banks, and I'm so glad you're here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you're always knowing when we have new experts on to talk about really great topics for homeschool families. And today is one of those days. We're going to talk all about technology education, which admittedly is not my strong suit, but I have an expert today to bring you the information you need as a homeschool parent. So let me tell you about MyTek Lab. Today we're talking with Stephen Souders, who is one of the owners and founders of MyTek Lab. So MyTek Lab is an educational platform focused on teaching technology to students of various ages, particularly middle and high school students. It was founded by Stephen and Jackie Souders, combining their expertise in IT and education. The platform offers live interactive courses in areas such as computer science, web development, programming, 3D modeling, game art, virtual reality, robotics, and more. I know you're going to love this conversation I had with Stephen Souders, and be sure to check out the show notes at 4onemore.com/286 or the links below this video, and we will put all the information you need so you can find the resources at MyTek Lab to use in your homeschool. Now, here's my conversation with Stephen Souders. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hi, Abby. It's great to be here. I think any day that I can talk about technology is a great day, and especially technology education. So I'm thrilled to be joining you today.
Awesome. And I already told you this is not my expertise, so I'm, totally clueless. So we're going to go through this topic. It's a great one, though. We need to talk about it in the homeschool world. So let's start out with just a brief introduction of yourself. Like, tell us about yourself. What inspired you to start MyTek Lab? How does your personal background influence everything you do over there?
Oh my gosh, I could spend a lot of time on this, but I'll just kind of give you the background and maybe the driving force of how I got started with this and what fuels that passion in me to create resources and build tools for students. But I was in the same shoes as a lot of my students. So if you look back when I was their age, teenager, I was trying to figure out how to program. I was trying to figure out how to use a computer. And things were vastly different back then, of course, early mid 90s. And things were a lot more expensive. It was just a different climate in general. Having access to tools was quite different. But like most moms, my mom was always looking for resources to help, facilitate my interest in learning and programming, and it was a challenge, right? Because we didn't have anyone in our family who was involved in technology. We didn't know any programmers, and it was just difficult to find resources. And she actually had me stay home from school one day and actually go to work with her while someone was coming in to support her network and upgrade and work with the computers. And I was so excited. I was thrilled. I was thinking about it for, I don't know, probably a week. I was excited. And I get there and he didn't want anything to do with me. I was a burden. Sit over there. Don't touch anything. Don't ask any questions. And that really resonated with me after all these years. I said, I'm not going to be that way. I don't think I am that way by nature, but that really, if I think about the one defining moment when I was a teenager, it's that moment right there. It was just, I felt so out of place and I was so excited going into it. I wanted to learn everything that I could and to just, be put in that situation and felt like you're a burden. And I don't think he meant that. And I think he was just trying to get the job done. As I've aged and I realized, like, I don't think there was anything behind it other than he was probably just trying to get the job done. But anyway, that stuck with me. Also working in the industry for years and like many others, having great people that we work for and maybe not so great people that we work for and with. And that kind of defines and shapes who you are and what you want to be and what you want to be seen as. And I think a lot of times in technology, um, a lot of technologists and computer scientists and people like that have very, very detail-oriented personalities, and sometimes that doesn't always come through as being the most helpful in nature. So I think I really wanted to break out of that mold and show, like, I want to help guide. I want to help explain and teach at many different levels, but also just be approachable and be someone that you can ask questions in many different formats and ways. And I wanted to be that for students. So it's been a long journey, but I always wanted to start something like this and work with tools and create. I feel like I'm a creator by nature. And I feel like a lot of students and a lot of younger people are creators by nature too. And they just need the tools to foster that creativity. And so, yeah, like I said, I could go on and on, but I think that gives you an idea of, what drove me to where I'm at right now.
So you guys are a homeschooling family, right?
Yes.
All right, tell us
Yeah.
about that. You and your wife, Jackie, how many kids and how long have you been homeschooling?
Yes, we have two daughters and we both teenagers, so 14, almost 15 and 16. And we've been homeschooling for quite a few years now. And I will say Jackie takes most of that. And, we use many different resources for that. And obviously they take classes with us and
Mhm.
they work quite a bit with technology as well. But that's been quite a journey. And I think that gives us a different viewpoint.
Mhm.
Obviously, I mean, it's something that we live on a daily basis, as well as a lot of families do. So, I think we really try to connect with students like we do our children, on a level that my goal is never about the finished end project. And I tell my students that all the time. It's not about just getting the code working. It's about learning how it works so that you can create and build off of that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we've lived this for many years with our own daughters, and we've worked with homeschoolers for many years now, and it's just such a great community, I think, overall.
So talk about the evolution of using technology in homeschool. Where are we in 2024? Like, what do you see? Are homeschool families quick to jump into using technology? Are they more hesitant maybe than the general population? Like, what do you see?
It really it comes back to when we're looking at tools, we have access to a lot of tools these days, and sometimes I think there's just so much out there. It's difficult to figure out what is going to be the best for the thing for my child, my learner to use. And there's a lot of overhyped software. There's a lot of gamification built into these things where learn how to program in 5 minutes a day, or this book is going to be what you need to learn how to program. And I think the reality is there's no shortcut to it. And I don't think many topics there's a shortcut to learning them thoroughly. You just have to put the time and effort in. That's something I stress with my students. But there are a lot of tools. There's a lot of accessibility to tools and applications these days, especially to homeschoolers. Um, but I don't know that a lot of them are necessarily what homeschoolers are looking for, or what they need, or what they think they need. There's a lot of confusion out there, right? And there's also a lot of narrow focus in my son only wants to learn programming, or my son only wants to learn 3D modeling, or my daughter only wants to do graphic design. And we hear that a lot too. And we really try to break students out of that and say, try to look at technology as a whole. We teach in many different areas. And for that very reason, because it's easy to get locked into thinking that technology is just programming or it's just robotics. And we hear that a lot. People refer to us as programming classes. I'm taking programming classes at MyTek Lab. It's like, we do programming and I love programming. I program every day, but that is just one piece of what we do and what we offer. And the reason we do that is because there's a lot of overlap between different applications. And you might program something and you might need some graphics to go into that. You might need some sounds if you're building a game or whatever that might be. And I think it's great for students to see that at at a younger age, so they realize there's other areas out there that they may not have thought about or explored, and they have written off over the years and said, I don't really want to do that. I don't, it's not my thing, but they never tried it. Right. So basically, to get back to your question, there's a ton of things out there. Um, and it's tricky these days because really it's about, who's marketing the most and who's in front of you the most, and the resources that you have to acquire these materials. And, I think every mom and dad is really looking out for their students the best they can, or their learners the best they can, and find the resources that will work the best for them to fuel that learning or that passion that they might have or they want to grow into. It is challenging. I will say it is challenging these days to find something that's going to work for your learner.
So what I hear you saying is families think they're just going to do like, okay, what's the popular tech topic right now? I want to learn about that. But you're saying they really need a more comprehensive, like a foundational technology course to start. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yes, I truly believe that. And after all the years we've done this, we've been working on this quite a few years. I think that's key, is working within many different areas. It's I give analogies quite a bit, but think of a carpenter. You know, as they're learning how to use many different tools, they become more skilled in carpentry, right? And it's the same thing with technology. If you just stick with one tool or one application, a lot of times you can't see the bigger picture or work into these other areas. But if you just have a nice foundation in in many tools and applications, I definitely don't think it can hurt in anything. And we have this concept that's been floating around for a long time that, young people these days are digital natives, right? They've grown up with it. We didn't grow up with the internet. We didn't. We didn't really have it. And by the time we got it, we were older than a lot of the students that we work with these days. So, but it's assumed that because they use technology, that they understand how it works, but they really don't. They're consuming the technology, and a lot of that technology has been written or developed or designed by many, many people in a way so that you can pretty much pick it up and say, okay, this is how I use it. But they don't know a lot. They don't know a lot about even down to the digital privacy of what's happening to your data. And I think young people especially need to be aware of that, because they're going to be shaping in the future for all of us in that respect. So there's so many things that I think you should just expose students to as it relates to technology. It also builds a certain comfort level, because something we've seen over the years, and this shocked me when we first started, teaching students, is they they don't have a comfort level with technology that we assume they do. We think, okay, a kid can use a computer and they're comfortable with it because they've always had it in their life. But that falls apart very quickly. And you see that, and they admit it very quickly. And I think those are the skills, and that's the reason why we need to have, broad general access to many areas of technology. And we need to help promote that and get people to understand that it's more than just programming. It's more than just robotics, because that's what we've kind of been trained as an industry. That's what you do. You want to learn computer science, you learn programming. But it's so much greater than that. There's so many other areas, and it's great to expose them to that, because I can't tell you how many times I hear from new students, especially every year, I had no idea that we could actually do this. I had no idea that I could even gain access and create something using a certain technology. I didn't know we could even do that. I knew nothing about it. But now it's what they want to do potentially as a career. And I know they're still young and they really don't know, but it's just I love seeing and hearing that at their age, saying, wow, I didn't know about this. And now it's I think it's what I want to do in my life. And it's like, whoa, that's so impactful.
So what's your beginner course where people should start? What's that called? Your comprehensive course that you want them to start with?
It depends on age, but we have a group called Computer Technology for younger students, and we have students who start as young as
Hmm.
6 to 10 in that, and we just do a lot of rotating modules and topics, just getting really comfortable with the technology, just using the website that we have and building projects and learning some basics of programming and just getting a feel for it. And I love that class because a lot of students start and they're fearful, they're not sure what to do, they get confused easily, they have difficulty following the directions that I'm giving. And within a few weeks, everything falls into place. And this has to really surprise a lot of parents, because we get some feedback from time to time, because they'll have to kind of sit with a younger student for a while. But all of a sudden, we never see the parents again, right? They're not on the video. It's just the students just doing the lesson and following along and even copying and pasting and working with different links, and everything's going great. So Depending on age, that's a great starting point. But also our main, I would say the main course where most students start is what we call Information Technology 1. And it's more of maybe sixth grade through potentially high school if the learner has no past experience in any kind of technology, which is weird. I mean, you don't find that much these days, but we do. We still find that from time to time where we have students who've never done any kind of programming. They've never built any websites. They've never worked with any kind of 3D modeling or robotics. They just have never been exposed to it. And they reach high school like that. So it can be a starting point for wherever they're at background wise, I guess, technology wise coming into it. But we just focus on, I would say 8, 9, 10 different modules throughout that course, 4 to 6 weeks per module. And we just ramp up through really things that I think are important that I've learned just working in the industry, but also just things that hopefully capture their interest and see, something that they can see themselves having access to that. Because I know a lot of things that we interact with, they don't feel like they are good enough or have enough experience or are smart enough. And I hear that a lot. And I have to keep reminding them it's more about persistence when learning programming or learning technology than it is raw intelligence. It's more about putting your time in and thinking about things than it is just anything else as far as I've learned and seen. And students ask me that a lot, when did you learn? And I'm sure everything was easy for you. And it's like, no, not even close. It was difficult for me to learn and it was a challenge. And I think it's okay, for students to hear that. And I think it helps put their anxiety in that regard aside, because we just assume everybody has a knack for everything and they can just, oh, you must have been a programmer from, the time you were 5 years old and you know everything. It's like, no, I learned. I put hundreds of and thousands of hours in it. That's, you know, what you have to do with any subject to really understand it.
Mhm.
But
So what's your pitch? I hear you saying like you have some kids as young as 6 taking classes, which in the homeschool world, I mean, there's a lot of people are like, my little kids are not doing technology till they get to be teenagers at the earliest. What's your pitch to those families who you're like, well, actually, your 6-year-old could be taking a technology class? What do you say to those families?
yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky, right? I mean, it's one of those things where I believe every 6-year-old can do it. And I believe every 6-year-old should be working on it. But we also have this weird issue with screen time these days. And
Mhm.
trust me, I get it. As a dad, I get it. Screen time is a problem in a lot of families and overdoing it. But to me, screen time is different when you're looking at it from a consumption perspective. I'm consuming social media. Probably not a great thing. I'm consuming YouTube videos that are just silly. That is vastly different from I'm working on a website like MyTek Lab and I'm designing a pixel art project that I'm going to use in a game that I'm programming. And so for a younger student, it's tricky, but I think it builds that confidence in creating with technology at an early age that will carry them through the rest of their lives. And I think that's important. And over the years, I've seen it surprises me every year when we get new students in who feel uncomfortable working with technology. They really feel uncomfortable because I think a lot of times it's easy to say, well, we'll just wait, we'll hold off, we'll start this later, we'll start it. But why not? A 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, they can learn the essence of working with a computer. It's something as simple as copying and pasting text that takes some older students a while to get their mind around because they've never done it, is second nature to them because it's just one of those soft skills that I just show them how to use it. Or typing in a command and running a command and understanding if I run this command, something will happen according to that command. It's just simple logic, but if they don't have it, a lot of times, a lot of students we've encountered who didn't take classes with us, but we know them, and sometimes they go off to college and they are not prepared for the technology aspect of writing papers and just managing their own computer and or computing system and being able to print and do all these things that we take for granted. We just say, oh, they'll figure it out.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, yeah, generally they probably will, but it's going to be a time of uncertainty and it's going to cause some frustration that I think you can avoid by just getting them started a little bit earlier. But obviously limiting screen time for certain things. And we do run into that a lot where parents say they're on your site all the time. It's like, well, there could be worse things because pretty much the only thing you can do on our site is create. You can program, you can design 3D models, you can work with simulated robotics, you can do all kinds of different applications. So there's worse things they could be doing for sure, because to do anything on our site, they have to be thinking and creating.
Sounds good. Makes a lot of sense. It's all in the perspective of,
Yeah.
yeah, the screen time is what are they using it for? That's good. That's good. So
Yeah.
what about if a learner has struggled learning tech in the past, which like you said, some kids, it's not that second nature thing and it is a struggle. What makes MyTek Lab's approach different?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of apps out there and there are a lot of things where it's just kind of self-directed. And sometimes that works great for a lot of learners, but I don't think it works for everyone. You want to have a connection with someone. You want to feel like someone is there to help when I'm struggling versus the app isn't working or there's nobody really behind the app. Or so I think that is what we offer, and I think that's really helpful in that respect because we can really tailor our guidance and our lessons and how we offer what we offer individually to learners. But that said, we take an approach like this. So I mentioned modules. We offer content in different modules. We don't stay on the same module, obviously, the entire semester because I want to show them and expose them to different concepts. But the other reason is so that we can start something and we can finish something and they can see the entire process there. And then we can take that and potentially use it in another module later in the semester or year because I like to weave through and say, look, we built this, now we're going to use this over here, and then we can use it over here. And I think that's really helpful to understanding. But um, you know, a normal day would look like this for me if we start a new module. It's about giving them the fundamentals so that they feel confident in using and understanding what it is we're going to be working with in this module. And then starting to work on simple projects throughout that module. So have them create something simple, but keep it very basic. We don't stray too far from some of the initial materials that we're going to discuss. And then from there, we usually end with some sort of comprehensive project in that module that they can customize, they can continue working on, because I think that's where you really learn. I can get them started, but then from there, they take it and they really learn it. I think even for me, I really learn a topic when I'm trying to get something to work or look a certain way for me. And I think it's the same way for most people and definitely our students. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of what we to get them started with something simple and then just kind of build as we go. And a lot of students take it and they'll be working on things way outside of what we talked about and coming back to me, we left this module 3 modules ago and they're saying, hey, I'm still working on this. And I'm like, that's awesome. It's
So
great. It's
are
wonderful that you're doing that.
so are students interacting with you or with other students, or are they kind of like independently working and watching pre-record? Like, how does that all work?
So most of our students are live, so they will take a live course with me once a week, and I'm very interactive. I try to make it as fun as I can, give them a real world perspective on everything that we do. They can ask questions in the chat. They can interact with other students, obviously very moderated, and we keep an eye on everything. They can also interact with other students through our site, again, very moderated and protected environment, but they can collaborate with other students. They can ask me questions. I have many different formats that they can use to access me, from chat systems through our website or through email. So I get lots of questions throughout the week from students, specifically about assignments, but it might be something just completely unrelated. They have a side project they're working on, or they just have questions about They've been with us for years and now they're thinking about going away to college and what should they study and just general guidance. And so yeah, but we also have flex-paced courses where they'll just watch the recordings, but they can still connect to the live help classes we have every week. So they can still interact with me live in many formats. Sometimes we even set up one-on-one sessions. So for me, it's all about I want it to make sense for them. And it's something I tell them a lot. I can show you these things. I can have you follow me on my code and I can show you how this is going to work, but you have to make it make sense for you. And I'm here as a resource to do everything that I can to help you with that. A lot of students really utilize that, and I love it. And a lot don't. And I get it. I mean, when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have reached out too much and gotten the help because I was probably a little more shy. And I get that. And I could totally understand. But I've broken through a lot of those students over the years like that too, and I've gotten them out of their shell and built awesome relationships with just them feeling comfortable saying, "Hey, my code's broken," because a lot of times they don't want to seem like a burden or they cause a problem or they can't figure it out. Nobody wants to feel like they don't know what they're doing. But once we break through that and they realize, I'm not going to judge you and I was there and I understand, it gets easier. And then they feel like they can reach out more. And that's what it's about for me. And I tell them all the time, I say, we have the assignments, we have the projects, just so we can have some sort of grade. But for me, it's not about the assignments and projects. It's about you understanding it enough that you can then take those tools and that knowledge and build something or create something on your own.
Very cool. Now, Zoom's going to kick us off in a few minutes. So let's finish
Okay.
off with the final question here. But
Okay.
what role do you see technology education playing, like in these homeschool students' lives? Because they're, like you said, some of them are going into this for future careers, some are not. But still, what's the role of technology education, maybe for all homeschoolers?
I can't think of one field that doesn't utilize technology to some extent these days. I'm sure they exist, but it's amazing how technology has really crept into just about every industry, whether you're interacting with technology or you're designing something using technology. I just think it's going to be very helpful to have an advantage in that respect in using technology, but especially if you can create with it. Even if you're in a completely different field other than programming, I guarantee you there might be a time in many different fields where somebody finds out that you can understand programming and you could solve a problem for your organization or wherever you're working, whatever you're involved in at that time. That would be one of those things where that is going to impress someone. They're going to say, "Wow, you can program," because it's difficult to program. It's difficult to learn these things. And the people who do and the people who understand it collectively, I think will have an advantage in many areas, many careers, and especially with this whole thing called AI. We keep hearing about AI. AI is going to do everything. Um, yeah, AI is going to be interesting in the coming future. It already is, and it's already changed a lot in respect to many careers. So how it's also going to turn into more of a understanding about data. Who has access to my data? Is the data accurate? Is this manipulated data? Is there built-in biases to some of the data? And I think we need people who understand that enough to be able to help with that in the future, because I think that is going to be concerning for everyone in the world. I think just data in general. I mean, we are in the information age, but we're quickly moving into the data and age and what's going to happen with data and who's going to own the data and who's going to be changing the data. And that might be a different session we can have on that. But
What a time to be alive, right? Like, what?
it is. I try to tell students a lot, like you have access to so much right now, utilize it. I
Mhm.
didn't have nearly hardly anything that exists right now as far as just accessibility to being able to create in a very affordable manner. I mean, there's just so many things are accessible, and I try to remind them of that quite a bit.
Well, thank you for breaking this down for us and kind of talking through things. If people want to learn more, where can they find you online?
So they can go to myteklab.com. That's myteklab.com. And they can see a lot of what we offer. And oh, I wanted to mention too, we offer all of our resources or access to our website. We've always offered that for free. So anybody can sign up for an account. A parent can sign up for an account, a teacher can sign up for an account, create student accounts underneath that account. And then those student accounts can access all of the resources on our website for absolutely free.
Oh,
And we've always done that. I've always felt that
hmm.
that's important to provide access to all of our online resources to anyone so that they can benefit from it and get in there. We have a lot of people who sign up and use our site who they've never taken a class, but they interact with students. Sometimes they ask me questions. It's
Oh,
just really
wow.
interesting how
Yeah.
this has developed over the years. But yeah, definitely just sign up for an
Okay.
account and check it out.
Very cool. I love that. We'll send them over. Thanks, Stephen, for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me, Abby. I've really appreciated this.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation I had with Stephen from MyTek Lab. Be sure to check out the show notes at 4onemore.com/286 and go to myteklab.com to be able to access their resources. Thanks for joining us today and happy homeschooling.